Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. From the biology department at STC, we welcome you to another speaker series. Today, we have Georgie Garcia joining us. He is the Visitor Services Manager with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services at Laguna Atascosa. With 6 years of experience helping to conserve, protect, and enhance fish, wildlife, plants, and their habitats for the continuing benefit of the American people. He's going to talk to us about the refuge and a little bit about how he got to this. Thank you so much, Georgie, for joining us. The floor is yours.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Well, as she said, my name is Georgie. I am the Visitor Services Manager at Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge. We are a federal agency within the Department of Interior, located here in Los Fresnos, Texas. We have approximately 120,000 acres, and we manage it there primarily for wildlife. Our mission is to conserve, protect, and enhance fish, wildlife, plants, and their habitat for the continuing benefit of the American people. That is the purpose of a refuge. I myself have been there for 6 years, going on 7. And when I first started with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, I started as the urban ranger in partnership with the city of Brownsville. And it was one of the most amazing experiences I've had the opportunity to have in my life, teaching youth all the things that I enjoy, which is hunting, fishing, wildlife observation, pretty much the big 6. And we tied it into that, into making a summer camp, the Junior Ranger Outdoor Adventure summer program through the city of Brownsville. Getting employed with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, they do prefer a college degree or veteran experience. I myself have veteran experience. But there's many ways to get your foot into the door. I do recommend FIRE. It's a very fun and a great experience to get into the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and see if that avenue is going to be something that you're going to want to have in your back pocket, because it is a great tool that we use here with U.S. Fish. But we'll get more into that later. I have a nice little PowerPoint that we're going to be sharing here shortly. There we go. So, as I said, Laguna Atascosa was established in I'm seeing everything right now. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right. So we were established back in 1946, primarily for one species, and it was waterfowl. It was the red-headed duck. 80% of our nation's red-headed duck population rest and winters here at the Laguna Atascosa and the adjacent wetlands. We have 3 main units. We have the Laguna Atascosa proper. We have the Bahia Grande unit, which is the largest wetland restoration to take place in the state of Texas. It's located off of Highway 48 and Highway 100. And then we have South Padre Island units, which are on South Padre Island, everything north of Access 6, which is ran by Cameron County, and then south of the jetties. We have, with those 3 units, we have approximately a total of 120,000 acres and over 60 miles of hiking and biking trails. The purpose of a refuge. So we work with others to conserve, protect, enhance fish, wildlife, plants, and their habitat for the continuing benefit of the American people. The refuge system So as I said, the 3 units that we have that make up the 120,000 acres of Laguna Atascosa. So we're a very unique refuge in the fact that we are still growing. In the year of 2021, we actually grew by approximately 5,000 acres. And what we're doing to this day is South Texas thorn scrub restoration that's currently taking place on Unit 9, which would be the new unit south of Laguna Atascosa. Here you have the area maps and the acreage that we have. So the Laguna Atascosa sits at approximately 60,000 acres, where the Bahia Grande unit sits at approximately 30,000 acres, and the South Padre Island unit sits at approximately 30,000 acres. The Laguna Atascosa proper is going to be located just north of FM 106 if the general public wanted to access the 60 miles of hiking and biking trails. This is where you would be going. If you look up Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge on Google Maps, it will take you directly to the visitor center. So Laguna Atascosa participates in the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Big Six. All of the things that we do can tie into one of these categories: hunting, fishing, wildlife observation, photography, environmental education, and interpretation. Now, each one of these alone is great in of itself, but when you combine them all, it truly does give you a very appreciative experience for the outdoors. So the access for Laguna Atascosa, we are open 365 days a year from sunrise to sunset. If you wanted to go out there on Christmas Day, that is perfectly fine. The refuge is open. I myself won't be there, but the refuge is open for you. We do have the over 60 miles of hiking and biking trails that are accessible to the public. Only 2 miles of trails are not accessible for bike. We have an excellent refuge. It's amazing for biking trails. And honestly, with Laguna Atascosa proper is approximately 60,000 acres. So with 60,000 acres, the best way to view the refuge is going to be through bikes. And a great thing is now U.S. Fish and Wildlife is allowing e-bikes. So the refuge is accessible through e-bikes as long as it does not exceed 25 miles an hour and doesn't have a throttle. It needs to stay true to an electronic assist paddle bike. Around our visitor center, we have 0.8 miles of our ADA trails that are extremely well maintained. In the background picture that I had when we started, that was actually one of our ADA trails. And around that area, there are going to be 4 bird feeders with 3 water features, which tend to gravitate the majority of the birds within the area at that time. Right now, we are at the tail end of the migration wave that just happened where the birds were heading back north. So the other day, we were seeing Baltimore Orioles, indigo buntings, painted buntings, just phenomenal migratory birds that are passing through right now and using Laguna Atascosa as a place to rest for their long journey before they continue. And then one of our most sought after trails is the 14.2 mile loop, the Steve Thompson Wildlife Drive. This loop was previously named Bayside Loop. If you ever remember going to the refuge as a younger child and remember being in the vehicle for quite some time and seeing just absolutely stunning landscape where it's prairie grass and then thick thorn scrub, it used to be accessible by vehicle. Unfortunately, back in 2013, we closed down the loop, previously known Bayside Loop at the time, because we ended up having a female ocelot get run over. So we have to be there for our mission, and our mission is wildlife first. So it is in the works to reopen the Steve Thompson Wildlife Drive to vehicles once again, only when it is safe to do so for both the wildlife and the general public. So right now it's still open for hiking and biking. It is probably one of the best biking trails because you're at peace. You know there's no vehicles on it right now. So when you're biking it, everything that you're seeing is amazing. Bahia Grande access. So the Bahia Grande unit is currently closed. It will be open in the foreseeable future for hiking and biking. It will not be open to fishing or kayaking. And then it's currently open right now only through our selected draw hunts and then special events through our Friends of Laguna Atascosa, which is our nonprofit who supports Laguna Atascosa. Such programs such as Fishing Futures, Bike the Bahia, and the Friends Science Series have taken place there on the Bahia Grande unit. South Padre Island. So there's one thing I absolutely love about being a Texas native. This is that has been always, and they kept it like this And it is a law that we definitely abide by. So the Texas Open Beach Act is great because it does give you access to the beach. And if you're from a different area, you've just never traveled outside, there's a lot of areas such as Florida in different states where it is not like that. So this is definitely a very special thing, privilege to Texas. And in doing so, the same law that gives us access, the Texas Open Beach Act, also protects the beach itself. So that's where the laws are in place as to why the public cannot trespass on the dunes, drive back there for those reasons. That law is in place to both benefit us and the wildlife. So we're going to go back to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Big Six and how Laguna Atascosa is participating in such events. So Laguna Atascosa is the most sought after draw hunt within the state of Texas. We receive approximately 20,000 applications throughout the draw year. We have two main units which you can hunt in, the Laguna Atascosa proper and then the Bahia Grande unit. So the 6 categories that we have is going to be American alligator. We have archery general. Then we have refuge exotic. We also have general deer, which is firearms, centerfire. And then at the Bahia Grande unit, we have exotic archery and exotic muzzleloader and shotgun. All of these hunts are available for the public to apply to, not only just Texas residents, but the whole U.S. You can, and that's why we receive the 20,000 plus applications per year. We are the most sought after because of an invasive species that we have, the nilgai antelope. And these draws are up for application in the first week of July through tpwd.texas.gov. And if you get selected for a 5-day hunt, you'll be paying $130. And if you get selected for a 3-day hunt, you'll be paying $80. During our hunts, you will have the opportunity to harvest 1 male white-tailed deer, so 1 buck, and 1 female white-tailed deer, 1 doe. Unlimited nilgai antelope and unlimited feral hog. And then any unlimited, any exotic ungulates as defined by TPWD. Fishing. So fishing is going to be allowed in partnership with Cameron County at Adolph Tomei Jr. County Park, located in Arroyo City. In this partnership, Cameron County maintains that area, even though it is U.S. Fish and Wildlife property. They maintain that small area. And in doing so, they were the ones who also inputted the fishing piers, the restrooms, and the camping grounds. They have camping on site with both RVs as well as tents. And this is where we do participate in fishing. Now, people can fish off of the Bahia Grande unit. However, you're fishing, the people who are currently fishing it right now are fishing in a text dot right away. You are not fishing on U.S. Fish and Wildlife property because fishing is not an authorized activity for the Bahia Grande unit, nor will it be. Therefore, within that area between Highway 48 and the Bahia Grande unit, you can fish as long as your person is not trespassing those ballards that say U.S. Fish and Wildlife property, no unauthorized entries past this point. Oh, sorry. Some of the fishing events that take place in fishing features that are going to be accessible to the public and open for registration and absolutely free are going to be available through our friends of Laguna Atascosa. And their website is going to be flanwr.org. All of our events can be found through our friends' website and available for registration. This event, Fishing Futures, is in partnership with Fishing Futures, and it is a nonprofit that was started by Shane Wilson, and a local resident here of South Padre Island. And it is an amazing program that focuses not only on teaching an individual to fish, but bringing a family together and really starting a foundation instead of just having them fish for a couple of hours. What they do is we take them through a course, a little 5-section program where they learn habitat, rules and regulations, how to cast, how to properly handle fish, different gear. So it's very much focused not only for youth, but to also teach the parents. That way they can continue on the tradition of fishing, whether it be for fun or sustainable resources, if you're doing it to get some food. Sorry, I'm very hoarse. Allergies. So, wildlife observation. Laguna Atascosa is the most, or we're located within the most biodiverse region. Just being here in South Texas, we have absolutely just great influences from plains, Chihuahuan Desert, Tamaulipan thorn scrub, wetlands, salt, fresh, you name it, which honestly really does bring the diversity of the species that call Laguna Atascosa home. We're home to more than 417 species of birds during peak migration, 45 mammals, 44 reptiles and amphibians, 130 butterflies, 40 different fish, and approximately 450 different plant species. Now, this together brings everything around. And we're a very special area when it comes to wildlife observation because not only do we have great wildlife viewing opportunities, but we also have scenic views that do take a little bit of ways to get there. As I said, we have over 60 miles of hiking and biking trails, but now that e-bikes are allowed, it's going to be definitely a way to access the refuge to get to some of those more beautiful areas. Photography. So in doing wildlife observation, photography just kind of goes hand in hand to share your experience with others. And this can be done with just your smartphone or the real McCoys, Canon, all those good stuff. Don't know many other markings of cameras, but they get fancy. And some of you photography students that are there with UTRGV, please use the refuge as a resource. There's just, who knows what you're going to see, honestly. You could have like this picture right here, just great blue herrings in the background, kind of shaped like a heart. There's just amazing photography opportunities. And me, myself, I love sunrises. So when it comes to the most uninterrupted sunrise, it would definitely be there at Laguna Tascosa off of the Laguna Madre. And the easiest accessible area of that would be by Plover Point, which is only 3.05-mile hike from the visitor center. So you're looking at a total of a 6.1-mile hike to see one of the most uninterrupted sunrises. So here you do have just the different photography opportunities that have taken place there at the refuge. I had to choose from hundreds of photos, and these were some of the ones that really shot out to me. You have rattlesnakes out in abundance during mating season, which is just, we're at the tail end of it. So they've been out there in high numbers during the recent trash cleanup that we just had. There was a rattlesnake just coiled up right there on the ground next to some trash. And it's really a beautiful sight to see the way they camouflage into the ground. Everything that we have there at the refuge is definitely more scared of you than you are of them. However, don't worry, the general public should be staying on the trails as it is a law. So as long as you stay on the trails, your chances of running into such wildlife from a dangerous viewing distance is limited drastically. There might still be a snake basking himself on the caliche as you're walking through, but I guarantee you, as soon as you make some noise, they'll get out of your way. So we also take a play in environmental education. Now, what we do is we offer free field trips to local ISDs and educations of learning in order to expose the students to wildlife, to the outdoors, to a different aspect of learning. Unfortunately, a lot of people just see learning as behind closed doors, within walls. The refuge is a great resource to have. It is within our community. It is far. We understand that, which is why we do not charge absolutely anything. We want you to come out here and enjoy the refuge. So any of you educators, if you know educators, you're looking for field trips, please use the refuge. We would love to have you all. Sorry, outreach as well. We also conduct quite a bit of outreach. We go to career days within our area. So unfortunately, we only have one visitor services staff. And if that individual is going to be out conducting a career day or any other type of outreach, then he's not going to be able to be there at the visitor center providing the service to the general public. Right now, during this season, it is our slow season, which we're limited on volunteers. So we also conduct interpretation. Now, a big part of this is during our peak season. The refuge's peak season is going to be from October through end of April, mid-April, depending on the volunteer staff that we have. Right now, our peak season is already over. We're no longer providing interpretive tours, but the refuge, along with the Friends of Laguna Atascosa, have provided interpretive guided hikes, as well as bike rides, just really a way to get out in the refuge with a skilled interpreter who's going to be able to let you know what you're seeing, answer any of the questions you may have, give you some knowledge of the refuge itself and the history as you're going through, walking through. So that is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Big Six. The refuge was founded in 1946 for this species, the red-headed duck. Before we're ever an area for the protection of wildlife, we actually belonged, the refuge, the property, was owned by the Department of War and used as an aerial gunnery range during World War II. One of the generals who was a part of that training wrote a letter to the Department of Interior stating that he had never seen so many red-headed ducks. And that's all it took to get the ball rolling to establish us as a refuge after the biological surveys and everything that took place. It's just amazing the way it got started was from an individual who was back home where the red-headed ducks summer and just him taking notice to the amount. And honestly, when you go out there during winter, the majority of the waterfowl will be in the Laguna Madre, and then at around sunrise, they fly overhead. That way they can go and desalinify within the Laguna Atascosa. So you're talking about thousands flying overhead. It's amazing. So the refuge is the best refuge primarily because we have more birds than any other national wildlife refuge. And being that we're biodiverse, that brings the amount of species. We're also at the meeting point of two major flyways, the Mississippi Flyway and the Central Flyway. So we have such great species as this one, the endangered Ocelot falcon, the great horned owl, which is funny to have them next to each other because a big reason for the reduction in numbers of the Ocelot falcon would be the great horned owl. That's why we currently have Ocelot nesting boxes within the Bahia Grande unit, where the majority of them are located. We do have some on the Laguna Atascosa unit as well. But there can be one seen off of Highway 100 that's only about 300 yards in at your 10 o'clock, and it is an active Ocelot nesting box, has been recorded on eBird, and the Ocelot can be seen either within that nesting box or just across Highway 100 on the cell phone tower. It's funny how they love to have that high vantage point. The plain chachalaca. So that's a very South Texas native. And it's funny that when we hear the word of a chachalaca, some of us are reminded of what our grandparents used to call us when we were younger. It's actually a bird. And the reason why they used to call us, because I'm going to throw myself in there, chachalacas, because we wouldn't be quiet. These birds are deafening. And whenever you go to the refuge at the right time, you can hear them roosting in the night or right in the morning, as they know that we're putting out birdseed and suet that they're going to eagerly go to eat on. With good rain years comes great quail. And within the past 6-7 years that I've been there, I've only seen the Laguna Atascosa dry one time. Other than that, we've had really good rain. And within the past 3 years, it's been very, very good for us. We're barely starting to see the beginning of a drought. Some of our smaller ponds that historically have held water are starting to run dry. And the Laguna Atascosa is at least, I would say, 50 yards in. But very grateful with the amount of rain that we received in the previous day. We can make, an inch of rain, inch and a half of rain last us for about 2,000 acres with water management that is conducted on the refuge. So any little bit counts, and we're definitely hoping for more. While you're there at the visitor center, be sure to take one of our easiest, beautiful loops, the Kiskadee Loop. Not even half a mile, not even a fourth of a mile, and you have your great opportunity to see one of the South Texas great birds. The roseate spoonbill, another South Texas special. Not to be confused with the flamingo. That is not native to the Rio Grande Valley. We have roseate spoonbills. So we're very special when it comes to birds, but we're also special when it comes to felines, cats. Every single cat that was once native to the Rio Grande Valley was native. The other way around, I apologize, I always do that. Every single cat that was once native to North America was native to the Rio Grande Valley, except for one, the Canadian lynx. But other than that, we've had them all, from the bobcat to the endangered ocelot. There are an estimated of 80 to 100 ocelots left within the U.S. with the population here in the Rio Grande Valley. The refuge right now has a current population of 18 ocelots. We passed over our monitoring to Cesar Kleberg Wildlife Research Institute, and their pattern of their coat is very unique to them and them only, very similar to our fingerprints. So there are no two ocelots that have the same pattern, which is how we're able to identify that we have 18 different ocelots on our refuge through our monitoring program, as well as live trapping that we do. Cesar Kleberg. We also have, sorry, let me go back to cats. Historically, we used to have jaguars. The last jaguar to ever be harvested was back in 1946. But as I said, we've had them all: mountain lions, jaguar undies, even a margay. Margays hasn't been seen here in over 1,000 years, but we know that they once roamed the Rio Grande Valley because fossils were found in the Grand Pecos River. Oh, Pecos River, sorry. So when you go out there, not only do you have the opportunity to see birds, mammals, but you also have, right now, is great butterfly time. The flowers, are in blossom. This is a blue meadowlark resting on a Texas lantana, and it's amazing the amount of different butterflies you can see there, and just walking through 2 short trails that are around the visitor center. So again, another great opportunity for photographers to really grab some of the iridescent colors that butterflies and moths tend to have. Here you have the black swallowtail. This one would be a female. And of course, the most popular, the monarch butterfly. Not to be confused with the queen, which even sometimes on the flash I do as well. You also have the white peacock, the blue Mexican wing, and much more. If y'all haven't been out to the refuge and visited us yet, I highly recommend it. We are located in Los Fresnos, Texas, off of FM 106. It's an area that we receive approximately 375,000 visits per year. And to be honest with you, quite a bit of them, I would say 9 out of 10 locals do not know we exist. And it's a shame, because we're a very, very beautiful area that you should come and visit in order to just expose yourself to some of the habitat that historically should have been here before human beings ever inhabited the Rio Grande Valley. Oh, and you can see our trails that are very, very well maintained.
Thank you so much. So we have a few questions, and let me grab. So first, we had a few questions, and I've heard this from you guys before, but so a few of you probably don't know. So Georgie, why are there some restrictions in place for fishing and hunting, and why are there difference in these restrictions?
As per access, or are you talking about regulations that are set by Texas Parks and Wildlife Department? Because for
Yeah,
access, we'll touch on both of them just a little bit. So for access, I know a lot of people, myself included, have had their fishing locations taken away. They can no longer access an area that they used to be able to walk through and go fishing, or drive through. And it's always been no fishing allowed within that area. It's just that U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has so much property, we're barely getting around to fencing it off properly, barricading it, putting ballards, and being there for wildlife. So we need to think about our mission, why we are a refuge. We are here to work with others to conserve, protect, and enhance fish, wildlife, plants, and their habitat for the continuing benefit of the American people. So people might not think about it. Well, I'm just going to go in, drive, fish, and leave. I'm picking up my trash. I'm not making a mess. Yes, correct. But you're driving in an area that there's a road now. There's no more grass that's going to grow. You're taking away feed from a mammal, from a white-tailed deer, possibly from something that's native that should be using that area for plants. So that would be as an access standpoint. And then you also have the rules and regulations that are set for TPW, that are set by TPWD. And these rules and regulations are in place that way we can fish and hunt, not only today, but for the future. We need to make sure that the management of fish or mammals is controlled properly within the area. That's why Laguna Atascosa, during our hunts, nilgai antelope, during all of our hunts, excluding the American alligator, are incidental take because we need to manage them. It's an invasive species that's not from the RGV, and it actually makes driving down some of those roads, FM 106, 510, a little bit dangerous and scary just because you never know what's going to shoot out in front of you. Feral hog, white-tailed deer, you hit those, they're native. They're supposed to be here. You hit a nilgai, that's a hard one to walk away from. So management definitely does play a key role in keeping their numbers controlled.
Okay. And then if you were interested in what repercussions would someone have when they don't follow those rules, regulations, or restrictions on access?
So at our refuge, if you're hunting on our refuge and you're not abiding by the rules and regulations as everybody else is, there is a 5-year ban that can possibly happen just through the refuge, apart from the criminal offenses that you would be getting both state and federal because the refuge is federal. But as per out and about, if you're fishing on your own, you're keeping undersized fish, you're pretty much just going to have an unfortunate conversation with the game warden and then a future conversation with the judge if you were willing to fight it, or a very hefty fine. So honestly, it's best just for everyone to abide by the rules. There's a reason why they're there. And nowadays, through technology, they're very accessible. Nobody has the excuse of, oh, pues I don't know, I don't have the book. No, you do know. You have an app. Everybody has a phone. Download the TPWD app, and through there you can find out whatever county you're in, regulations for everything fishing, everything fresh, saltwater. It's a great app.
Okay. So hopefully a few questions there are covered. Now a little bit more specific. We had a question and it was by Amber. Um, so it says, do you have any statistics or maybe kind of success stories on demonstrating the population growth in the recent years due to the preventative and protective measures put in place by the refuge?
Growth
Of any protective species that you're
okay.
working.
So in the past, U.S. Fish and Wildlife there at Laguna Atascosa was in not only conducting how to address the Ocelot monitoring program, but also being the ones doing it. This did thin us out quite some bit when we passed over our research and monitoring to Caesar Kleberg Wildlife Research Institute. They started doing fabulous, getting great data in order to make more management-based decisions. So within obtaining the new Delaney tract, the approximately 5,000 acres, we are re-vegging it in hopes that it will be a home to a future ocelot. A male ocelot can take up to, I think it's 25-mile radius. I could be wrong. I'm sorry, I forgot that number. So more or less within that area, give or take 10, 25 or 50. Those are the two numbers speaking out of my head. I apologize. So we're hoping that once all that area is developed into new Tamaulipan thorn scrub, that it will be housed to a new Ocelot. Uh, that's all I got for that one. And we're definitely doing the before monitoring right now as per the management steps that we're taking in the future. Right now, what we're doing a lot of prairie land restoration, wetland management, um, and Tamaulipan thorn scrub restoration. So we're doing a lot of the before right now in hopes that the future is going to be looking rather well in just controlling water and keeping it there on the refuge.
Okay. And I've actually seen in social media work that you guys have done with the ocelots. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that one was an old story from the Gladys Porter Zoo that happened approximately about 3 years ago. I just feel like it came back up again all of a sudden. So it's always good news whenever one of our focal species is, you know, trending.
Yeah, just some in the chat were actually questioning that they didn't know about it, and the fact that you gave some numbers and they were asking why are they so low? And I don't know if you can maybe mention.
Definitely. So the ocelot really started going down in numbers due to the fur trade. It's a very beautiful cat, and unfortunately, a lot of people were using it for coats. It would take an estimated 30 ocelots to make one adult medium coat, which is very unfortunate. They would only use the pretty quote unquote part of the ocelot, which is just the parts along the spinal, which have the most pattern. And we do have a coat there at the refuge that was donated, and it shows just on a small section that we have because it's very old, and there's 9 ocelot pelts just within a small back section of the coat. So a big reason was the fur trade. Once that became illegal, right now their biggest threat would be us, hitting them, vehicle collisions, and a big thing is habitat and then fragmentation. So the refuge, unfortunately, is a really good example of that fragmentation. FM 106 cuts between Laguna Atascosa, and then south of that would be our new unit, the Unit 9, the Delaney Farms tract that we're currently revegging. So that's a major FM road between what's going to be two primary habitats for the ocelot, which is why, in partnership with TxDOT and few other agent partners or agencies, we emplaced wildlife crossings along major FM roads like 100, 510, and 106. They have already had usage from ocelots, so it's already working. But not only ocelots, bobcats, coyotes, it's overall reducing the wildlife collision within those areas.
Yes, I remember seeing that there were some cameras to see if it was successful a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years ago. So it's pretty cool, that type of work. Another interesting question, because we hear about it a lot, is, and I had it here. Okay, here. So someone is asking, Pra- Prawan is asking, with the increase of global warming happening, has that been a factor in the increase of protecting wildfire and wildlife and their habitats? And if do certain animals migrate sooner due to this? So I guess also in their their patterns and how they
So that's a
migrate.
very good question. And what I would love to do is give you my email address. And from there, you could shoot me the exact same question. Ron, I believe. I apologize if I'm getting the name wrong. And what I'll do is I'll forward that to my biologist because that's a little bit outside of my knowledge, to be 100% honest with you. So my email address is going to be my name, George_Garcia at FWS, that's Foxtrot William Sierra .gov, like the government. Any questions you have, please feel free to email. Use me as a resource. Don't mind talking to people if I have the time.
Okay, fair enough. So we had a few questions, and I know you mentioned it, but I guess if you can, I don't know if project it a little bit, or maybe they can contact you as well about So we had different questions on the summer camp. I think you
Okay.
mentioned about hands-on experiences, volunteering, and jobs.
Very good. So, as per volunteer experiences, right now during our summer months, it's very hard to have a volunteer want to commit to come all the way out to the refuge and then really only work for about 2 to 3 hours because after that, you're absolutely drenched in sweat and all you want to do is go home because it's exhausting. That's just the valley in the summer, to be honest with you, while you're working outdoors. Our biggest volunteer opportunities, one of our last one just got finished up, which was our Earth Day cleanup. And it's always around April 22nd. So it'll be the Saturday following that one, as well as National Public Lands Day. Those are two good cleanups that we do along the Steve Thompson Wildlife Drive, where we're picking up trash off of the Laguna Madre, which is going to be similar to a beach cleanup, except all of our trash is actually coming from South Padre Island, floating across the Laguna Madre, which is one of 5 hypersaline bodies of water within our area, Texas or US. And then it collects right there off the Laguna Madre. Jobs, we have 7 employees there at the refuge. I recommend fire. Fire is the easiest way to get into the refuge just because they have more positions. And if you're willing to relocate, it's also going to be a great fun experience. Where else can you start a fire, burn some stuff and get paid for it? I mean, this is really a career within U.S. Fish and Wildlife. But we have plenty of careers on our refuge. We have 2 maintenance individuals, 1 biologist, 3 managers, and 1 administrator. But they are always going to be looking for U.S. Fish and Wildlife definitely does look at a degree within biology, wildlife management, and you can only go so high without one. So I definitely recommend if you do have military preference or you're getting in because you're a veteran, still look into the college aspect. That way you can grow within your career. So I know I'm speaking to the right crowd.
Okay.
It was jobs, volunteers, and one more. No,
Oh, yeah, it was those three.
I wouldn't like that.
Okay. And then last question, we had, and I'm sure a lot of our audience also wants to know, but we have Valerie asking what has personally been your favorite species on the refuge
There's just so many to choose from. They honestly do change with the time, the season.
recently?
Right now, it's gonna be rattlesnakes just because their mating season is currently, and it's fun to see them out and about in such high numbers. They're normally a little bit more elusive, but right now they're just everywhere. The other day I saw 3 of them while walking a 4-mile trail, so it's something very fun to see. And then bird would be the green jay. It is one of the most beautiful birds that we have here, native to the Rio Grande Valley, that we literally have people coming from everywhere. I work some of my time there at the visitor center, and I definitely get to hear people's stories. And every single time, it sounds very similar. I'm here to see the green jay, and I can always comfortably point outside my window where there's a bird feeding station and say, "There you go." So it's definitely fun to see, and it's a once in a lifetime bird type deal. It's very beautiful once you see it for the first time. It's still beautiful, just not as good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us again. Um, and it was a very fun talk once again. Thank you so much. Everyone else, thank you for joining us. This concludes our semester speaker series, but next semester we go into medical related topics. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, and see you next semester. Thank you so much, Georgie.
Bye. Thank you all.